Hi everyone. Welcome back to Woo Can Cook. My name is Wesley, and this is a show where we are slowly cooking our way through all of the food from my childhood. Today we're diving back into our series dedicated to classic Filipino cuisine with our very best shot at maybe our most requested Filipino dish, which is a chicken adobo. For those unfamiliar, adobo is a method of slow cooking and simmering with roots in both Spanish and Filipino cuisine, where a protein is marinated and braised in a soy sauce and vinegar-based marinade with a few aromatic spices, then left to simmer over low heat for however long you feel like. Today we'll be making use of some skin-on bone-in chicken drumsticks, which I think is not only going to yield us the juiciest piece of chicken as possible, but is also going to be the most traditional choice for our dish today too. That said though, I have seen some very compelling arguments that braised chicken skin is overrated, which I don't necessarily disagree with, so we'll get to all of that shortly as well. In any case, like many other low and slow simmered dishes, due to its inclination towards meal prepping and feeding large families, chicken adobo in particular has many nostalgic ties to Filipinos all over because I'm sure everyone's Filipino grandma makes a far superior version of this dish. So let's try not to screw this one up, Wesley. Okay, so let's get into it. I still got streets, but they don't love me like they used to love it. And I'm reminded of how bad I used to want. Okay, so kicking things off here first, we're starting off with a couple of aromatic veggies to pair with our chicken today. As with any slow simmered and braised dish, you can throw really whatever veggies that you want into the pot, but since a big element of a chicken adobo is the braising sauce that's left behind, some aromatic veggies to go along with this sauce is going to be a nice addition today. So to that end, I'm starting off by crushing and mincing 4 cloves of garlic, followed by large dicing half of a single medium white onion as well. We'll be deglazing our chicken fond with these to make our braising sauce in a moment, which should make for a rich and flavorful sauce element in our final dish as well. Up next here are my chicken drumsticks, about a pound's worth today. We're going to be marinating these in essentially the same sauce mixture as our final braising sauce, which is because a chicken adobo is iconically made from an extremely simple braising and marinating sauce, which is essentially very simply just soy sauce and vinegar. So this is 8 tablespoons or a half cup of soy sauce here to start, followed by 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar and 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. Finally, rounding this out, I'm adding in some peppercorn here for some aromatics to our marinade. Then we're gonna attempt to toss this to combine before realizing that bone-in drumsticks are a lot harder to toss than boneless chicken thighs, so we're putting this into a Ziploc bag instead to make things a little bit easier. Then we're setting this aside to marinate for 30 minutes while I assemble my braising sauce next. Alright, so as I mentioned earlier, our braising sauce is essentially the same combination of elements as our marinade with one small but I think fairly significant addition. This is another 4 tablespoons of soy sauce to start, followed by 2 tablespoons of brown sugar and a single tablespoon of rice vinegar. Then finally, now I know that this does not come from Filipino cuisine and we're probably going to anger some folks with this, but this is a single tablespoon of dark soy sauce, which is going to be a little bit richer and deeper in umami than our regular soy sauce that we added earlier, and I promise it's going to work really well in a slow braise. So I know that it's culturally out of place, but I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway because it's going to taste good. Over on the stove, we're going to use our wok to first sear our chicken drumsticks to get some fond going. Then we're going to remove that chicken, deglaze, and use the same wok for our low and slow braise. This is going to make our dish today a one-pot meal, which I am always a fan of. I've got my wok heating up here as hot as possible, then I'm adding 4 tablespoons of peanut oil and, as always, long yao for that nice non-stick surface. Then going into our wok here first are our chicken legs, which we're going to sear for about 2 minutes per side before removing. Now, I think it's also worth mentioning at this point that the skin on our chicken here is covered in fat, so when we go and sear this, our skin is going to help us render this wonderfully fatty and juicy fond left behind. Now, whether or not our far superior chicken skin fond is worth the trade-off of having lumps of chewy, soggy braised chicken skin in our final dish is still left to be determined, but more on this in a moment. Going into my wok here next are my aromatic veggies. This is my garlic going in for about 15 seconds until nice and fragrant, followed by my onions, which I'm giving a toss to for another 1 minute until slightly translucent. Then next, here's my braising sauce going in, which I'm using to deglaze the fond off of the bottom of my wok so that we may let it combine with our braising mixture here. Then finally, here's my chicken going back into the wok, plus about a half cup of water and a couple of bay leaves to round things out. Then we're gonna let this simmer for a minimum of 30 minutes, or really as long as you want. Personally, I think that the sweet spot here is about 2 to 3 hours, but if you wanna let this simmer all goddamn day, you can just keep adding water as needed, and you can absolutely do that. The point is that the longer that this simmers, the better that those flavors are gonna develop. In any case, once we're ready to eat, I'm letting this braising sauce reduce until a thick and luxurious sauce begins to form, like so. Then we're removing this all from heat, finishing with a bit of torn cilantro, and we're ready to eat. Okay, so as far as old school grandma dishes go, this one pretty much checks off all of the boxes. It's easy to make in large quantities, which makes it ideal for feeding large families. It's relatively simple to assemble, there's pretty minimal cleanup, and most importantly, it has a long simmer, which means that over the course of that long simmer, your house is rapidly going to begin smelling like delicious home-cooked goodness and nostalgia. I ended up letting this one cook for about an hour and a half, which yielded this incredibly tender, nearly falling off the bone quality to our chicken. My personal favorite part of this dish though is the braising sauce, which is deeply rich and filled with umami from our soy sauces, and also thick and savory from our rendered chicken fat as well. As for the braised chicken skin, I'm gonna let you all decide for yourselves whether or not it's worth using a skin on drumstick here. I personally think that the rendered chicken fat from that skin is a critical part of the braising sauce, but I also don't think that it adds much to the final dish either though. Chicken skin works best when crispy and deep fried, so when it's braised like this, it's just kind of floppy and chewy, and I usually just end up picking it out, but you know, you do you though. Okay, so that's it everyone. I hope you enjoyed this and I hope you give this one a shot. For those who are new to the channel, this one is part of a larger series dedicated to classic Filipino dishes, so definitely check out that series next if you haven't yet, because there's a lot of these. For the Bay Area locals, the Woo Can Cook Fried Rice Pop-Up is back at Two Pitchers Brewing in Oakland this weekend, so come by and say hi then if you can. More about that at woocancook.com/eats. As always, like, comment, subscribe, share, be nice interneters, and I'll see you soon.